What is going on, everybody? Been a diehard Pistons fan since '03 and eager to see this team getting back to playing winning basketball. In today's video, we will be doing a season preview for Pistons sophomore Ausar Thompson. On this channel, we have been and will continue to do season previews for every player on the roster. We started with the youngest and we're working our way up to the oldest, which means that we've already done previews for Holland, Jalen Duren, and Bobi Klintman, and we'll be landing on Ausar Thompson today. In this video, we'll talk very briefly about his previous year. We'll list 3 strengths to expect from him this upcoming season, 1 weakness to expect from him, a swing skill, and then at the end of the video, we will predict where he will be in the rotation along with his minutes per game. So to kick things off, talk briefly about his rookie year. Last year, he averaged 9 points per game to go along with 6.5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block per game in 25 minutes of action. At the start of the year, he was starting the majority of the games. He started 38 total on the year out of 63 played. The last very small portion of the season, he was unfortunately out and injured with blood clots. I'm not an expert or a doctor on that whatsoever. All I can say is that it's reported that he is healthy enough to start training camp and is expected to play at the start of the year. Last year, he averaged 48% field goal percentage, with an incredibly low 18% from the 3, and that is something we'll talk about later on in the video. So to kick things off, with 3 strengths to expect from Ausar Thompson this upcoming season, the number 1 highlighted in bold is his defense, particularly his on-ball defense. Last year, he was an amazing on-ball defender, especially for a rookie. He consistently took on the other team's best perimeter player, whether that be SGA for the Thunder, you name it. He was able to take on the best matchups as far as perimeter primary ball handlers and be absolutely shut down on those players. I would expect that to be just as good, if not better, this year. He's an absolute pest when guarding the ball. He's twitchy. He stays in front of his opponent. He's got it all. His ceiling as an on-ball defender is as high as anybody's in this league. And there's a real world where in 3 years, Ausar Thompson is considered to be the best on-ball defender in the entire NBA. His weak side defense help is absolutely incredible as well. He's able to use his athleticism to help despite only being 6'6". He can come from the other side of the floor, take lobs out of the air, block shots from help spots. He's really just a complete defender, even as a rookie, and I would expect that to be the exact same going into next year, if not better. So the second thing I want to talk about is an absolute strength for Ausar is going to be his rebounding. His rebounding is great, as is. When you consider that he's a wing, his positional rebounding is absolutely elite. He averaged 6.5 rebounds last year, while only playing 25 minutes per game, which is a great number, especially for a wing. And then when you consider that he shared the bulk of his minutes with Jalen Duren, who was top 5 in the NBA with rebounds, it was super impressive. He averaged 2 offensive rebounds per game. His ability to rebound on the offensive end of the floor is super helpful in getting second chance opportunities, which lead to points. His athleticism allows him to get to where he needs to be to get these rebounds, and his just general feel for the game, positioning, and nose for the ball makes it so that he is one of the best wing rebounders I have seen come into the NBA in a long time. I would expect his rebounding to be, again, the same, if not better, this upcoming year, and there's really no way around it. Ausar Thompson is an amazing rebounder for a wing. So the third strength to expect is just going to be his overall athleticism and his ability to use that athleticism in transition. Both Ausar and his brother Amen are top 0.00001 athletes in the world, and honestly, even just amongst NBA players, they are both some of the most athletic players in the league. He jumps out of the gym, he's fast in transition, super explosive. The dude is just a next level athlete. Both him and his brother have kind of a weird knack for hang time as well. I really don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, but it's almost Michael Jordan-esque how he's able to hang in the air. I don't know any of the science behind hang time, but just sometimes with even some of the best leapers at the highest level in the NBA, some of them just have this little weird thing where when they do come off the floor, they just seem to float a little bit longer. And both Ausar and his brother Amen have that trait. I don't know if there's any science behind that, but just from watching the games and seeing him play, and his brother has it too, they just seem to float in the air for a little bit longer, even when compared to the other top athletes in the NBA. The dude is a top elite athlete, and his ability to use that in transition shows, whether that's, going up for lobs, catching alley oops, just beating dudes down the floor. It's applicable on both sides of the floor. In transition, offensively, his ability to jump off of 2 feet from the dunker spot is top notch. It's really just super helpful to have a guy as athletic as Ausar Thompson on this team. So now we're going to get into his weakness and swing skill. This is a tricky one. So for his weakness, I went with his dribbling because I wanted to save his swing skill for shooting. Both of his dribbling and shooting were not very good last year. There was a lot of times where Ausar would be in transition, and like I mentioned, he has all the athleticism in the world to make the best of that, but he has a high dribble. He very often will almost like lose control of the ball and end up dribbling up at his face level, which isn't a good thing at all. So I don't expect that to improve to the point where Ausar's got some Kyrie type of handles going on, maybe ever, definitely not this year. And I don't think that's going to be the focus of the offseason. So I'm just going to go for his weakness, his dribbling ability, and his handles, because in the half court setting, it's more or less okay. But sometimes in transition, he just loses control of the ball. I don't know. It was tough to pick between this for a swing skill and shooting. I went with shooting for the swing skill because I think that if that hits and improves, it'll make a larger impact than if he figures out the high dribbling thing. So for his swing skill, we went with the shooting, and this should be very obvious. Ausar Thompson was only 18% from 3 last year on 1.8 attempts per game. From the free throw line, he was only 59% on 2 attempts per game, which is not at all what you want to see for a wing player in today's NBA. If Ausar Thompson figures out the shooting, he is going to be an absolute two-way star in today's NBA. With the addition of Fred Vinson coming in as a player development coach that's focusing on shooting, I really hope that Ausar Thompson is able to get the shot figured out, because even if he just gets to slightly below league average, if he's 32% from the three-point line, that changes his entire game and the Pistons offense entirely. So if the shooting hits, whether that's this year or in the future, that's going to be the thing that opens up Ausar Thompson's game and allows him to reach his ceiling, which is as high as anybody's on this roster. So to quickly predict where he will be at in the rotation, last year he started 38 games while playing 25 minutes per game. I think that personally, he's going to come off of the bench, but I think his minutes might be a little bit higher. I believe that the starting small forward spot will go to Simone Fontecchio, just based on fit with the starting unit, but I would not be surprised, and I will predict that Ausar Thompson will average about 28 minutes per game, with the highs of 30s, with the lows of 25, while coming off of the bench. That's going to be my prediction, but realistically, it's just a guess. If the shooting figures itself out at the start of the year quicker than we expect, then he might have that starting spot as soon as tomorrow. It's really hard to say. Don't know what that's looking like, considering that it's the off season right now. There's a lot of variance here. I think that the low floor for his minutes per game is going to be somewhere around 25, as it was last year. But there's a real world where he does take some of improvements in certain categories and his swing skill hits. And then after that, he's a key staple starter on this roster. So looking forward to watching Ausar this year. Let me know what you guys think. I'll catch up with y'all soon.